Mika!
Hello! Welcome, people. Do you know how to disable the waiting room?
You have to go to this kind of like symbol that looks like a shield.
It's security.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Okay, good. Great. We will start in 9 minutes. So if you want to take some water, get comfortable, or talk about something, I'm here. So, yay. I will be here forever.
I am having my breakfast.
Banana?
No, today is bread
No.
with eggs.
Oh, you have breakfast for every day? Like your dietist gave you breakfast for every day that you
Yes. Yes. Why?
And what is it? Because I thought you could eat like some certain stuff and you eat them whenever you want, but you have like your schedule, weekly schedule.
No, I have a schedule. I have actually a time to eat everything. A time to have breakfast, lunch, some snacks that I can have between the meals. I have everything.
Good. That's nice. You never will have to ask your question, what I will eat today, because it's already scheduled.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. I just look into my phone and then I see, okay, today is the day for me to eat banana with peanut butter or a bread with eggs or avocado or I don't know what like yogurt.
I just had lunch and I had a typical summer meal for Italy. I don't know if it's typical everywhere for summer, but it's like rice with everything. Like it's cold rice with tomatoes, tuna, eggs.
For breakfast?
No, for lunch. It's
Okay.
Yeah. But sometimes I had it also for breakfast.
What?
Usually
Rice for breakfast?
Yes.
Karina, try to understand something. Keto diet doesn't work in Italy.
Yeah, like, no, in Italy, they just eat sweet for breakfast. For me, it's super weird. They just eat croissant or like a piece of cake or cookies, but I am totally on the salty breakfast side. So I am kind of weird for Italians. They are not so used to salty breakfasts and weird stuff for breakfast. They are really.
Are you sure the waiting list is disabled?
Yeah. Also because they don't have anyone waiting, and this is so sad, guys. Can you?
Yes. Where are the people?
Your friends, like call all your friends here from other MCs, from other SCBs, like your members, your SCs. Where is everyone? This call is important.
Yes, it's actually is one of the most important calls.
I'm really disappointed. Maybe they don't know the link. No, they know the link. It's always the same. Morgs, you're good like with the networks, so call out everyone. Oh my God, you don't talk about operations or products and they disappear. No, guys, it doesn't work like that.
I will check if we have people watching on YouTube.
Yeah, go check, because I'm so scared to do things with this laptop because I'm not using my laptop. I'm using my dad's laptop because my webcam in my laptop doesn't work. I don't know why. And so like this laptop, it's weird. Like everything is so slow and stuff. So I'm really careful of not like going out from things on doing weird stuff, because then it will be slow to redo everything. So I'm like, okay, I will just stay like this and do nothing.
We have one person watching on YouTube that is not me. Like with me, we have two.
Hello, that person from YouTube. You're the best.
I felt so weird while when I had to deliver this session. It was the first session that I was going live on YouTube, and I was, oh my God, I'm live on YouTube. I'm such a YouTuber.
Famous people. Oh,
Yes.
this is not beer, it's water. It's just the biggest glass I have in the house, just to clarify. Because I will need a lot of water. When I talk, I'm like
Are you
this.
sure that's not just a transparent beer?
We will
Even
never know. We will see how fun this call will be, and we will measure from that the content of the glass. Hello, everyone that's joining. Call out everyone in your entities, please, because I don't know why we are so few today. It's Friday, everyone wants to go and have fun for the weekend, but please, it's the last call, so we can make it. I think I will anyway start on time. What do you think, Karina? Also, Karina did it.
was muted, sorry. Okay, since this call is extremely important, I suggest you to give 5 or 10 minutes more.
Buffer time. Okay. Cool.
It's up to you in the end, but it's going to be recorded anyway, and you can watch it later on.
Yeah, I paused the recording now as you suggested because it would have been weird. Half an hour me talking.
You start recording again when it's
Yeah. Someone typed, with COVID, we can't have fun. No, actually not. That is true. It's really true. But this is why it's super important, because COVID is not fun. So we want to avoid every bad thing that can happen because of COVID. Yay, 15, 16. Everyone is joining super on time. I see that Dani is in the call. Hello, Dani. Where is cluster 1, cluster 3? Your amazing clusters. Yes, see free forever. Since it's few of us till now, we can also have a small get to know. Why not? If you want to type the entity you represent and your position or anything, it would be fun to know like who is in the house. What kind of people do we have? There is also Aladdin. Hello, Aladdin. Costa Rica, CB Chair. Hey. CB Chair of Denmark, CB Chair Germany, MC Denmark. Yay. We have good representatives from Denmark always. France, CB Chair, Austria, Audit Manager. Oh, Audit Manager. Hello, Audit Manager. Uganda, CB Chair. Do we have some members? We have an LCVP. You wrote me in private. Hello, Vietnam. Mexico, LCVP OGV. TL reception. I've never heard of TL reception. It's like ICX for sure. Ethiopia, ACB chair. Hello, Ethiopia. Yeah, I was imagining. We have an MCVP Finance. Hello. I think I will wait till 2 and 5 minutes. I hope my super mega leader agrees. I think 2 and 5, it's fine. Yay, look at her. Amazing hair.
I just finished my hair.
Wow, that's why. What do you expect from this call, people? To have fun, to get to know each other. No, contracts. Oh yeah, contracts.
Legalities.
Yes, we love legalities. But actually, I mean, during conferences, finance people, they are the ones usually that have the most fun, in my experience. Like, I know that the Italian Finance Commission is always super crazy. Like, they were having like a secret drink that only finance people knows, and they are like transmitting the recipe of this super harsh and super strong finance drink in generations. And that is why I was seeing them as the most fun people. Network, downscale knowledge, know what to do if an AP gets infected. Not exactly. Like, we won't go deep in what you should do if an AP gets infected, but you will have some general guidelines. In Mexico, we are very serious. So yeah, I imagine.
Mika, did you give me co-host?
Oh no. Wait. Now I will need to understand how to do that. I just click on your name, maybe?
Yes, you click on my name and give me co-host. Give co-host.
Okay, I know. Okay. Yes, I do. I think you're a co-host now.
I will save you from random draws on your screen while you're talking. If someone
Thank you. Thank you, Ka. Yes, I saw that in one call and I was like, what?
I love call.
That's weird.
In her screen and she didn't know how to erase them. It was funny.
I need to come to Italy and meet the finance guys. Please tell me you'll share. Oh, of course. I don't know if there are some Italian people from the Italian network here, but for sure they will invite you. You can come to, oh no, not now. Not now. This is a call about safety. But one day you can go to Italy and meet the finance guys. Okay. I will then prepare my screen to share. And I will start sharing. So I will stop looking at the chat from now, officially. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Amazing. So welcome everyone. Sorry for making you wait, but we wanted to make sure that everyone that can join joins. Welcome to the Global Safety Protocols call. This is the last call, I know you are super sad, of the AEPP APIP onboarding from ICB that we started on Monday. I really hope that you enjoyed all the calls that we had. Anyways, you have the recordings if you missed some. And I hope that you will enjoy also this last one. Yay, meet your fussy. Who am I, the person that was random talking since 20 minutes? I am Michaela Shehovic, and I am ICB team leader for audit and compliance. Yes, you can call me Mika because no one actually calls me Michaela. It's super weird when someone calls me Michaela. I'm like also not turning because it's so weird in my life that someone calls me that. So you can call me Mika. I don't know if you recognized from my surname where I am from. I am not totally Italian. I don't know. I don't like to say that I'm not totally something, but I am also not only Italian. And my surname is from like East Europe, and precisely from Bosnia and Herzegovina, because my parents went away from Bosnia and Herzegovina in the beginning of the 90s because there was a super bad war, and they came to Italy. I was born and raised in Italy, and I have double citizenship, Italian and Bosnian. So I feel that I'm really both things, totally Italian and totally Bosnian. The phrase that I brought to you is zero expectations, big emotions. Why? Because it's kind of a fun phrase for me. I don't know, because usually when you expect something a lot, like you have high expectations, you may then not be that happy because your expectations are not met or things like this. And I heard this phrase for the first time from the MCP of AEPP in Italy, 1617, I think. So you can imagine how old I am in AEPP. I will tell you now how old I am in AEPP, because I joined AEPP in October 2014. Yes, October 2014. As Karina says, I am a dinosaur. But I don't know if there is someone in this call that joined even earlier. So I would like just fast to hear from you, like if you have joined before October 2014, to just open your mic and say, I joined before. No, no one? No one? Okay, super weird. Yes, I am the oldest one in the room. And my life outside AEPP, we were talking about contracts in our little pre-chat. And yeah, I am a law student. Yes, I love contracts. I love all of these things. Law, super fun. And yeah, this is my life outside AEPP, and I am at the last year of law. Let's hope. But now, some quick alignments that I think you already had. If you participated in all the chats before, if it's your first chat, I will repeat. Please don't write in the chat questions or anything that you want to say to me, because I won't be looking at the questions at in the chat, because still I'm not good with technology things, Zoom and stuff. So I will be super focused on the call, like on the slide and everything. So I won't look at the chat. If there is something super urgent that is going on during the call, like, Mika, we cannot hear you. Mika, the slides are not working. We don't see anything. I don't know. You can just open your mic and talk and say that super urgent thing, but no questions. So don't open the mic to do questions. If you have questions, you have an amazing form that we provided to you. I think you are already comfortable with it. And it's this link. And you will find this link in every slide. So if you don't remember the link name and everything, you will find it in every slide. Super. Let's start. So what will be this call about? What are we going to talk? So there will be an introduction. There will be AEPP general responsibilities regarding global safety protocols. There will be legal documents. Yes, finance people. And also ACB chairs and everyone. And its minimums. We will see later what minimums mean. Then we have COVID temporary protocol. This is something super new, of course, because COVID-19 is something not super new, but new, and it was legislated in IC 2020. And what we will look at in this protocol, we will look how the operations need to adapt. How do we manage risk? How do we manage health? And how should we manage the safety of our customers, of exchange participants? Then we will have a super brief look at the anti-harassment and violence protocol. Why a super brief look? Because the protocol, it's quite big and it has a lot of super important things, and we cannot cover them in 10 minutes. Believe me, like I made chats only about this protocol that last more than an hour. So we will just look at the main changes in the protocol. And then also we will have a super brief glimpse at the governance system related to the global safety guidelines, because you have looked at the governance system related also to all the products the other days. Now we will look related to the safety guidelines. I hope it's all clear. I hope that we are ready to go. Introduction. So this section of APIP includes all the protocols of ISAC to ensure the health and safety of ISAC stakeholders. All the policies, protocols, and guidelines outlined in this section are applicable to all ISAC entities and stakeholders, including members, APs, OPs, and any other party involved in any of ISAC activities. I would like to underline some things from this. Let's see, from my law studies, I understood when reading some articles or policies, you need to like underline the most important parts or words of the articles. And right now here, the most important ones are that this section is applicable to all ISAC entities and stakeholders. So it's not just for exchange participants. It's not just for ISAC members. It's for everyone that gets in touch with ISAC, because safety is such an important matter that we need to ensure and provide safety to anyone that enters in contact with us. And also another super important part of this, it's in any of ISAC activities. So as I was saying, it's not just for exchanges. It's not just when an EP is in another country. It's for any ISAC activity. So anything that ISAC does, it can be, I don't know, I'm an MC and I call a CEDR in my entity. This is super nice. But also this activity must cover the global safety protocol, because there is someone from the external of my country that comes to me and they need to ensure that this person is safe. So everything that it's related with ISAC and that we do. The global safety guidelines. So these guidelines are in concrete the minimum standard requirements for all entities and stakeholders involved in any ISAC activity to ensure proper safety management and crisis response to protect ISAC and its stakeholders of any financial, reputational, health, and safety risks. So also here, what are the most important parts? That this is the minimum standard requirements. So this is the minimum thing that you need to do. If you want to do more, if you want to protect even more, to ensure even more safety, you can do it. But when, for example, ICB will check if you do the correct things, we will check if you do the minimum things that we require you to do. And why you should do these things? To ensure proper safety management. So to prevent bad things from happening, to prevent that there are safety problems and health issues, and also crisis response. So when something bad happens, you know how to respond. You know exactly what to do. You don't have to be unprepared. The global safety guidelines should be implemented for all full and non-full members of ISAC, and it is applicable for all activities organized under the name of ISAC. I think that this is clear. Good. Now we are going to see, one second, because already I'm thirsty. Good. So we now are going to see what are the responsibilities of sending entity, what are the responsibilities of hosting entity, and what are the responsibilities of both parties. Sending entity needs to ensure all the APs and members of its entity sign a contract with ISAC local or member committee prior to their travel abroad under any activities with ISAC name. The contract must comply with the policies stated on AEPP and APIP. So right now here, we are talking mostly about the AP contract. So your ISAC local or member committee, it depends who has the legal power to enter in agreements with other parties in your entity, must sign a contract, and it must comply with the policies stated on APP and APIP. And we will see later what are these minimum policies in the legal part of the call. The sending entity must have a clear standard and guideline of identifying the possible destination choices and its restriction for any ISAC overseas activities based on its own government or any official standard of safety status of the areas. So here you need to ensure, you need to create a standard guideline for which you need to see if you need to have some restrictions for traveling abroad. For example, if you know already that the country, the territory from which the person is traveling from doesn't allow to go to another territory, to another country because of visa issues, you should make a restriction in this process, because you already know that getting a visa for that place will be really, really difficult or almost impossible. So you try not to sell, let's say, activities in that territory. It can be for external factors. So right now, in the situation that we are right now, we should pay really attention to the borders closed. So does that territory have some limitations of who can enter in the territory? Government statements, so some political statements that the government does, or blacklist. We know that sometimes it happens in AIESEC that some MCs, LCs decide to have blacklists. So some territories where they don't want, some entities where they don't want their APs to go. Maybe because they had some really bad experiences before and they decide to put these entities in a blacklist. But this, it's not mandatory. So if the sending entity can decide to not have such restrictions or guideline. But what happens if the sending entity decides to not have this such restriction? Anyway, the sending entity must clarify and emphasize the responsibility of each exchange participant to take their own responsibility and liability of choosing the destination, and provide clear education to the participants on the destination safety conditions, including but not restricted to official status of the country territory of its political situation, past terrorism incidents and natural disaster records, and current status of such safety standard, crisis prevention actions and mindset for traveling and living in the country territory, potential diseases and its necessary vaccinations. So you can not to have this guideline, these restrictions, but you need to say to your AP that it's her responsibility and liability of choosing that destination. But you don't have just to say this, like, okay, it's your responsibility, go. No, you need also to provide education. So you need also to provide education about these topics that are outlined below. What are the responsibilities of the hosting entity ICX? To ensure all the participants of AIESEC activities hosted in their own entity to register at their home country territory's embassy or consulate if their embassy requires it within 1 week from its arrival. So this is not a thing that it's mandatory for everyone. This depends from the person that it's arriving in your country. It can be exchange participant, it can be anyone that it's involved in AIESEC activity that comes in your country. You need to know to make sure if their embassy or consulate requires them to register. And if it does, then you are obliged to help them to register within 1 week from its arrival. Then the hosting entity needs to have the contact details of the participant at least 10 days before she arrives in the country territory. And then to ensure all the participants of AIESEC activities hosted in their own entity agree on the responsibility and liability condition of the AIESEC hosting entity AEPP in written proof. And here we have some examples of this, because you will be thinking, okay, what is this? Where can I write all of these responsibilities and liabilities? Well, you have the OP contracts, for example. You have the memorandum of understanding for the global host. You have the binding contract for GTs. You have the non-disclosure agreements for remote feature. So these are some examples where the hosting entity must put down all the responsibility and liability under AEPP. Then, what are the responsibilities of, oh no, it's not yet proof. Sorry. Then hosting entity to have prepared safety management guidelines for interns and AIESEC members in case of seasonal risks, such as floods, earthquakes, safety issues, etc. So this is extremely important. Now we know what a tragedy happened some days ago in Lebanon. We all know this huge tragedy. Bad things happen. So imagine your AP or anyone that is in your country right now, a CEDER or a participant of a conference or anyone, and a tragedy happens, something really bad happens. It's something that you cannot know in advance. So you need to be prepared before. You need to have the safety management guidelines from now, like now, and be prepared in case something bad happens. Then you need to have, as hosting entity, the complaint system created for APIs opportunities as well as other visiting ISAC members, where they can submit their complaints and track its solution. This is basically the case solving flow promoted by ICB. Then for both sending entity and hosting entity. Also this one, super important. Everything is important anyway. To have established relations with the lawyer, APR agency, and other parties who in case of emergency can support ISAC in dealing with crisis communication towards both media and sides of the conflict. So as I was saying, for the safety management guidelines, this relationship with a lawyer, a PR agency, any other party that can help you in the crisis communication needs to be done before. So it's not that a crisis happens and you say, oh, I need to find a lawyer. No, you need to do it before to be prepared. And it can be also the same lawyer that then reviews your contracts or anything, because you will see that you need to have contracts reviewed with your lawyer, and this lawyer will have a lot of job. So happy lawyer. Now let's go to our favorite part. I don't know if you have questions yet, but remember that you have the form and you can submit there all the questions. Good. The legal documents, yay. So here we have a division of legal documents. So whose responsibility it is for any legal document. I want to make a precision, a specification that these are the documents that are related to the Global Safety Protocol. So these are not all the documents, the legal documents that we have, that we are responsible for in ISAC. These are the documents that you can find mentioned in the Global Safety Protocol. And this is because this is a Global Safety Protocol call. For example, there is also the CB letter for establishment, but it's not covered here. So let's see for OGX. For OGX, we have the AP contract. For ICX, we have the OP contract, the Memorandum of Understanding, the Non-Disclosure Agreement. Then for ISAC, we have the AP Acceptance Note, the Indemnity Form, and other documents. Other documents that depend from your reality, depend from your national laws, depend from your ISAC reality. For example, here I put, thanks to Karina, because it's a thing they have in Brazil, a volunteer term for ISAC. Like in Brazil, the members, when they get selected, they need to sign a volunteer term. And this is due to the fact that they need to do it for legalities in Brazil. I think there are a lot of entities that need to do this. I think also in ISAC in Italy. I don't know if there is some ISAC from Italy, but I think we have something like this, like you need to sign. But there are a lot of other things that depend on your reality. So let's see the minimums. I would like first to underline what minimum means. So minimum is the minimum thing that needs to be there for your contracts, your documents to be compliant. So if you need to add things, if you want to add more protection, more things, you can do it. But then, for example, when ICB or your ACB chair goes to audit your legal documents, they will check the minimum things. They will check if these minimum things are present. If there are not some minimums or one or more minimums, that contract is not compliant, that document is not compliant, an X on that document. So I wanted just to underline this. Good. Let's start from the AP contract. And I would like to underline that it needs to be signed before, of course, approving the P on EXPA. You will find an APIP that there is an acknowledgement paragraph. And this paragraph is also applicable for ISAC activities overseas. So as we were saying, the Global Safety Protocol is not just for exchange participants, it's for everyone. So it's also for other activities, for example, leadership or international conferences. You can use this paragraph that we will read fast here. So I, name, surname, with passport number, as a participant of ISAC overseas activity, and here you choose, it can be exchange product, leadership, international conference, whatever, understand and hereby agree to follow all the terms, conditions, and responsibility of myself stated in the ISAC Exchange Portfolio Policies, AEPP, as well as following statements. To be responsible for own participation to the ISAC overseas activity product and act with own safety as the first priority. To be responsible for own decisions of going to the destination country territory and for any safety risk it contains. To be liable for any harms caused by own actions to any stakeholder involved. To have overseas travel and health insurance as own responsibility and take vaccinations if necessary. To inform the contact details in the destination prior leaving the home country territory to their family, emergency contact, and the sending entity ISAC in name. So you can use this acknowledgement paragraph in your contract and in the other documents that needs this acknowledgement paragraph. Of course, if you need to add then other things, it's not just this acknowledgement paragraph. And we will see here the minimums. So what are the other things, all the things that need to be present in your AP contract? AP full name, AP contact details, duration of the activity, start and finish date. When we were auditing, we were finding a lot of contracts without this, but it's really important. Destination, AP signature, of course, AP emergency contact details, ISAC sending entity representative full name, ISAC sending entity contact details, ISAC sending entity signature, total AP fee when payable, partner deliverables. Also this, we were not finding it in a lot of contracts. You need to have it according to the opportunity details and the ISAC exchange program policies. Also this one, AP deliverables as above, according to the opportunity JD and the ISAC exchange program policies. ISAC deliverables according to the opportunity details and ISAC exchange program policies. Personal data and intellectual property for GDPR protection. Break approval and realization conditions and compensation in compliance with the ISAC exchange program policies. So these are all the minimums for the AP contract. Remember, this is what your SCB chair is going to check in your contract. So if there is not something, really bad. But then there are also the specific clauses adapted to your national laws to be written with a lawyer. Here the lawyer, our amazing lawyer, is back. So yes, your contracts must be adapted, of course, to your national laws. We don't know your national laws. They are a lot, so of course we don't write them down. But for example, when ICB will audit, we won't look at the specific clauses adapted to your national laws. We will look at these minimums. When your SCB chair will audit, it will look at the specific clauses adapted to your national laws because they have just to check one country, not 111. Now, minimums of OP contract. Of course, signed before opening the OP on EXPA, of course. What are the minimums? OP company details, OP representative details, OP representative contacts, OP representative signature, ISAC hosting entity representative full name, ISAC hosting entity contact details, ISAC hosting entity signature. Then duration of the opportunity, of course, duration of partnership if different than opportunity duration. So for example, we were finding some OP contracts that had only the duration of the partnership. For example, we agreed that this partnership will last 3 years. Okay, but I don't know when is your opportunity going to take place. I don't know the dates. I don't know anything. So you need to put both. Total partner fee and when payable. Partner deliverables according to the details of the opportunity and the ISAC exchange program policies. AP deliverables, the same. ISAC deliverables, the same. Personal data intellectual property for GDPR protection. Break partnership conditions and compensation, of course, in compliance with the ISAC exchange program policies. Also here, plus specific clauses adapted to your national laws to be written with our fantastic lawyer. So as before, as for the P contract, we will check these minimums as ICB. Your ICB chair will check all the minimums depending on your national laws. Minimums of memorandum of understanding to be signed with the host before hosting the P. Non-disclosure agreement to be signed before starting the remote exchange, of course. The APIP contract, binding contract between APIP to be signed also before the realization. Good. Now, memorandum of understanding. It has to contain, of course, the duration of the hosting experience, the responsibilities of the host towards the AP and ISAC, the responsibilities of ISAC towards the host, the responsibilities of the AP towards the host, the minimum condition of the hosting facility provided. So you know that for our accommodation, we have some minimum conditions. For example, access to a single bed, access to electricity, access to clean water. This needs to be present in every accommodation we provide, of course. And then consequences for violation of the conditions. I don't have a single bed, I'm laying on the floor, for example. Non-disclosure agreement is to be provided by the company or partner, the opportunity provider. And a POP contract also to be provided by the company or partner, the opportunity provider, or defined again with our entity lawyer. I wish to be an entity lawyer. Like when I finish law, I will search for working for an entity in ISAC because they have some work to do. Good, call me. Minimums of. No, we already did this, no? No, we didn't. I'm getting crazy. No, we didn't. AP acceptance note, signed automatically by the AP on EXPA. Indemnity form, it's a document to be signed before any conference. You need to remember that there is always a before. And then other documents based on your reality and entity and your laws. For example, we talked about the volunteer term for ISACers in ISAC in Brazil. What about the AP acceptance note? It's automatically generated on EXPA. Yay! So for once, you have to do nothing. Updates. We are working on some updates to the acceptance note to add the policies of AEPP and other information needed to make sure the P receives and agrees with ISAC policies. We don't know yet the exact date of this update, but expect it before the end of 2020. For the indemnity form and other documents, to be defined with the entity's lawyer. Cool. I kept it really not a long time. Okay, cool. Finish this slide. Now, if you have questions, remember on this part, remember that you have our amazing form to fill. Now let's go with the COVID protocol. Okay, due to the current global pandemic, there are some specific regulations that all entities running exchanges under any ISAC program must fulfill. So this is for whom? For all entities running exchanges under any ISAC program. This is directed to you people. These regulations are valid until ISAC's International Congress 2021 and should be revisited before that to determine its validity based on the external context. So of course, let's hope, we all hope, this pandemic is something transitory, so it's not going to last forever. And so, of course, we were going to review, not me because my term is ending, other people, Karina and all the others, will review these policies before the next IC to see if they are still valid, to see if the situation is better, is worse, if you need to add, if you need to, there is Yesune Femi that wanted to write something. If you need to review them. ICB and ECB will be responsible for tracking and monitoring that these guidelines are met and reporting to the global plenary. We will see later with the governance system part how this tracking and monitoring by ICB and ECB will take place. What is the structure of this protocol? So how the operations need to adapt, how you should manage health, how you should manage risk connected to this pandemic, and how should you ensure and provide safety to the P related to this global pandemic. Let's start with operations adaptation. Here we have each entity's OPS and IPS should be adapted to the external context and address the main concerns of the APs in regards to doing exchange during a pandemic. These touch points should include, for IPS, the health and safety requirements aligned to the country territory regulation. Explanation of the procedures to be followed based on the possible issues that arise with their project and or the pandemic. So here it's kind of easy. Like I read it, I think it's understandable. You have to provide all the safety regulations based on your country, because every country has different regulations, of course. And then what if something happens? What if, I don't know, one exchange participant gets coronavirus? What are we going to do? What is going to happen? What are the next steps? You need to tell it before, during the IPS. What about OPS? The health and safety requirements and regulations before leaving, of course. Explanation of the procedures to be followed based on the possible issues that arise abroad and who to contact. A list of resources they can access to educate themselves more and seek support in case something happens, including the World Health Organization's recommendations and websites to access more information. So we need to provide to APIs before leaving all the resources that they can use, tools that they can use in order to keep informed. And since I'm audit team leader, and I think you saw it during this call, these things will be audited. Like your recipe chairs, ICB, will check if you have these things in your IPS and OPS, because I hope that all of you knows that IPS and OPS has a minimum content, like minimum things that you should say and do during your OPS and IPS. You have these minimums in the exchange standards guideline. These ones that I told you now add up to those ones. So from now on, you will have the minimums of the exchange standards guideline plus these things. Make sure that you're implementing them. Operations adaptation, again. Each entity's SOP needs to be adapted to the external context. All members involved in exchange should be educated on the health and safety measures to be followed by ISAC, APIs, and OPs before any exchange happens, and they should know how to communicate it to stakeholders. All APIs, OPs, and ISAC stakeholders should be informed that comply with the health and safety measures provided by ISAC in order to participate on an ISAC exchange. So this is like a sum up, let's say a general thing that we already touched before, like these topics. And these are like, yeah, a summary of everything about operations. So you need to make sure that everyone is educated on health and safety measures, and you need to make sure that they comply, because if they don't comply, they cannot participate. About the other part of the protocol. So health management, how to manage health. Each entity must have a health management plan that complies with the government regulations and safety measures for the APIs, the participants of the project, and any other stakeholder. This plan should include the action steps the AP needs to do, have in place in order to participate in the exchange. e-test, masks, hand sanitizer, report of any symptoms, other things. The requirements for the host to do before receiving an exchange participant. The action steps the OP needs to do, have in place in order to participate in the exchange. A plan of action in case an AP gets infected by coronavirus. As I was telling you before, what happens if there is an AP that gets infected? You need to know these things before. Like we had this moment of uncertainty when it happened the first time, no? Like in February, March, we were all going crazy. What are we going to do? Then there was a super good crisis management plan. But now we already know how to manage these things. We already have some guidelines. You need to implement, to create yours and to implement them and to make sure they are in place. We cannot be unprepared. And also remember, like also this will be audited. Like if you have your health management plan, everything will be audited, don't worry. Okay, COVID protocol, how to manage risk. Each entity must have a risk assessment and management plan, both internal and external. What should this plan include? exchange feasibility analysis with the main partners, sustainability, financial model, visa management. Then we have an external risk assessment for all possible situations, e-test, if a project gets cancelled, a potential second outbreak. We don't wish for that. But as I told you before, we need to be prepared. We don't have the excuse, oh, this never happened before. Bankruptcy. There were a lot, unfortunately, of OPs that declared bankruptcy. So we need to know like what to do in all of these situations. A plan for managing APIs abroad in the case in which a country territory lockdown happens again. This, for example, we had some guidelines that we were implementing from March. I remember, for example, one of them was, I need now to check if my EP has a visa, a valid visa abroad. And if it doesn't have right now a valid visa abroad and it's locked in another country, I need to contact the embassy to help them. Or, for example, make sure that the EP has a health insurance. So all of these things, you need to have a plan. Education plan for each member involved in exchange operations. Then, how to ensure the safety of our exchange participants. All entities using global host as main accommodation should have a plan B for accommodation in the case the host does not want to participate in the project anymore. This happened. This happens. We need to be prepared. So if you have global host and it's your main accommodation that you use, then you need to prepare a plan B. I don't know. I already know that I can contact these hostels. I already know that these ISAC members will be super available 100% to host the exchange participant if there is an issue. So you need to have a plan B. Also, this will be audited. All entities using global host as main accommodation should ensure the host is educated on the health and safety measures required to host the EP. We already said this. All EP contracts should be updated with the current context, including refund policies, responsibilities, and safety requirements for the EP and OP, and revised ISAC responsibilities. We saw this. All EPs traveling for an ISAC exchange, what I was telling you before, must travel with the right visa for the total duration of the opportunity. All OP contracts should be updated with the current context, responsibilities and safety requirements for the EP and OP, revised ISAC responsibilities and consequences for canceling the project internship. Okay, this was the COVID protocol. Now let's go to the last two topics. I don't even know what time it is. Wait. To see how. But we have a lot of time. I was so fast. What happened? Karina, are you shocked? Usually I talk so much, like I was so worried. Oh, good.
Continue. Congratulations.
Thank you, Karina. I'm happy. So yeah, let's go to the anti-harassment and violence protocol. As I told you before, we won't go through the whole protocol. It's huge. You need to read it, and it's not something new. So we were saying there are slight changes in the protocol. But before, I want you to know how the structure is of this protocol. If you've never seen it, you can, that you never saw it, okay. You will see it now. After this call, you will go and read it. So we have introduction, principles, applicability, concepts, sexual harassment, sex and gender-related harassment, psychological harassment, mobbing. What I want to say about these concepts is that usually the anti-harassment and violence protocol gets related only to sexual harassment. But sexual harassment, it's not the only type of harassment that exists. There are a lot more. Here in this protocol, they're explained really good, super clear. So go and see what are the other type of harassments that there are, because it's not just sexual harassment. There is sex and gender harassment, psychological harassment also. Make sure that you know them. Then protocols for resolutions, the incident report, harassment prevention committee procedures and report, incident investigation protocol, confidentiality and protection, preventive measures, because we want also to prevent that these harassments and violence happen. Sanctions and disciplinary actions if they happen, and sanctions if the protocol is not followed by ISAC entities. Then we have a report template because ICB wants to help you in report this harassment. And yeah, this is it. But this anti-harassment and violence protocol, as I was underlining, is super important. And there are some things that you need to know before I talk to you about the slight changes that happened. So generally, this protocol is applicable for all people involved with ISAC. Internal, externals, members, APs. It's not just for APs, it's also for members, internal, external, anyone that is involved in an ISAC activity as our global safety protocol, because these topics, these matters are so important that anyone that gets in touch with us needs protection and help. Harassment situation is not considered a quality case. So it's not, for example, like my AP doesn't have an accommodation. A quality case starts. It's not considered a quality case. This is why we have a specific protocol that it's this one, and for quality cases, we have the case solving flow that has a different flow. They must be processed in different ways. All entities must have a prevention committee established. Also, this is super important. Like make sure ACB chairs, MCs that are here, that you establish a harassment prevention committee, because last time that we were checking, it was like, I don't know if I'm right, but like less than 50% of entities that had it, and you cannot come unprepared. Like, it's not that an harassment happens and you have time to create a committee and then to educate the committee. It's impossible, like, because then you will see that you have only 7 days to do all the procedure. You cannot be unprepared. The composition of this committee is legislated. So you can check the protocol to see what are the required positions, because there are some positions that need to be there. The People's Committee contact must be available for ISACers and stakeholders, because anyone needs to have the contact there if something happens, if an harassment happens, if a bad thing happens, you need to have the contact to contact immediately someone from the committee. The responsibility of the committee also includes education, prevention part. As we were saying, it's important that you have an harassment committee established, not only because the harassment prevention committee deals with the cases. Of course, it deals with the cases, but also because the committee has another responsibility, that it's education. Because for this protocol to work, we need to have everyone in ISAC that it's educated about it. Not only MCs, not only CBs, not only the people that are in this call, everyone. The ACB chair is not mandatory to be there, although it's highly recommended by ICB to be there. The time to process a case since the issue was raised is 7 working days, as I was saying before. The reports must follow the guidelines written in this annex. You will find the harassment protocol, anti-harassment and violence protocol, not in APIP, you find it in Annex 1. So what are these slight changes that happened with this IC 2020? Before, we weren't accepting anonymous claims, but now we are accepting them. Anonymous claims will be accepted, but still it is highly recommended to avoid to have anonymous claims. Changing the report procedure. Okay, now the Harassment Prevention Committee receives a claim. Within 24 hours from the claim, the committee must inform the ICB chair if the case involves exchange participants, opportunity providers, or the ethics subcommittee chair for cases that involve only members. And this should be done by email. And there is also some minimums that this email needs to have. Date of the original claim made to the committee, brief of the case, including the date of the incident, and committee members' names, roles, and contact details. Important that this should be happen within 24 hours from when the committee receives the claim, because we need to act fast, of course. And then from the moment in which the ICB chair or the ethics subcommittee chair receives the claim, the committee has 7 working days, not 7 days of the week, but working days, after informing the ICB chair to submit the final report, following the guideline written on topic 6 of this annex. So there is the report guideline, and you can use that one. Important, this report must be also sent to AIVPs responsible for ICB and Ethics Subcommittee Chair. Before, this report was sent to ICB Chair, Ethics Subcommittee Chair, and PI, President of ISEC International. Now it is AIVPs responsible for ICB and Ethics Subcommittee Chair. Of course, you will have access to who are they.
I want to do a comment in this part, can I, Mika?
Of course.
Cool. Hi guys, Karina, the ICB chair. So just to explain you actually what happened, and this is the only part that I'm gonna do any type of comment. It's because when you received a case from the, like I'm just receiving the case, I'm part of the committee, I didn't have to report this part for anyone. And then I would have to get all the committee together to the whole process. I needed to go for the investigation of the issue and so on, and then I would have to report it to ICB. But during this whole situation, there was a gap of communication with the committee and also with people that were supposed to support you, that is actually me as ICB chair. So what we added, and to summarize the new difference is, when you receive the claim, you need to tell me, okay, hey Karina, I received this claim, and those are the minimums related to this claim. After that, I'm gonna go for the 7 working days to investigate everything and then to create the protocol. And since I already know that, I can support the committee in any type of help. So this is the change. When you receive the claim as the committee, you report it to the ICB chair, or after reporting, you go for your 7 days to investigate, do the interviews, and whatever the protocol.
Yes. Thank you, Ka, for this precision. Good. Then we have also some changes in the sanctions and disciplinary actions. For ISEC entities, every harassment case, tampered, unreported, or in which the investigation and reporting flow are not respected, involving exchange participants, will be evaluated with ICB, and both entities involved, sending entity and hosting entity, will count with 1 official case lost per exchange participant involved per entity if diagnosed that the involved entities was not compliant to the global guideline. So pay attention, because this happened. We gave ICB official case application lost for harassment cases, and actually this changed because you can see the highlighted part, both entities involved, sending entity and hosting entity. This is the change that there is now, because before there wasn't written that part, and it was just written that if the flow is not respected, you will get 1 official case application lost. Me and Karina had this moment in which we were interpreting this article, this part of the harassment protocol, because there was a case that was not reported, and we were understanding, should we give it just to hosting entity, the official case application lost, or also to sending entity? And we interpreted it, and according to us, this is the right interpretation. So if it happens that an harassment case, it's not reported, or the investigation and reporting flow are not respected, both entities should receive an official case application lost. So pay attention, you will need to coordinate really good, sending entity and hosting entity, to work for the best benefit of the person that, that is involved. Governance system. So this is the last part. I will go brief because I know that you already talked about the governance system. An introduction to the governance system. Of course, the governance system of the ISEC portfolio internal policies outlines the processes and practices through which different bodies of ISEC will ensure compliance to the policies, as well as deal with cases that arise. The International Control Board remains the final body responsible for ensuring the governance system of the ISEC portfolio internal policy is implemented in all ISEC entities and bodies. So who are these controlling bodies? Of course, International Control Board And then we have entity control board in each entity of ISAC. What is the compliance system? So the compliance system is formed by the compliance matrix, that huge annex that you have, black and white, really cool, with all the violations and sanctions that can happen with APIP and AEPP. I want to remind to you that the sanctions will be applicable only after IPM 2020, but you need to be compliant to the compliance matrix till now. Like you need to audit till now. We will help you from ICB, of course. And everything is going on legal from now. How to ensure compliance? As I was telling you, the violations can be identified by the following processes: submission of whistleblowing, complaints received with quality cases, local audits performed by ACBs, national audits that are performed by ICB, internal surveys including but not limited to SOGA, GFB, and ICB survey. So you see here local audits and national audits highlighted because they are new parts. From now on, your ACB must audit. So this is mandatory. Your ACB must audit and must audit all the violations of the compliance matrix. And also ICB has its own audit funnel, its own audit legislated in the document. This wasn't legislated before with all the phases and everything. Then, how will we report about compliance? ICB will report on the entity's compliance to the APIP through ICB quarter reports and the ICB report during international legislative meetings. ACBs will report on the LC's compliance to the APIP through ACB quarter reports and the ACB report at national conferences. During audits, we are underlining what I already mentioned before. You will have to submit some documents. Not only documents, there can also happen visits from your ACB chair if your ACB chair decides so. It can happen also interviews. This is something new that we are introducing in the way we audit. So also interviews will be applicable. And remember that you will have to be compliant to the minimums that we saw before in the legal documents. Compliance matrix. The compliance matrix is an internal control system that contains possible violations of ISAC portfolio internal policies and its sanctions in case any violation is identified and confirmed. So we have all the violations that can happen related to APIP, and we have also all the sanctions with level of severity. And the compliance matrix has the following objectives: to ensure that ISAC is proactive and acts in the best intention to protect its customers and stakeholders. So not only to act when the problem arises, but to act before, to be proactive, to make sure that everything that we are doing is compliant to APIP. Ensure that ISAC entities are fair and aligned with the APIP. Reduce the level of risk associated with the APIP. So there are these three main objectives. We have violations, we have risks, and we have sanctions. The violations. So I was telling you that I'm not going to talk about the whole compliance matrix because it's kind of big. There are more than 200 violations, and you will need to know them, of course. But I would like to know how many violations of the safety protocol, that it's the topic of this call, do you think that there are in the compliance matrix? I would like you to guess. I think that you're used to this game if you were present in the other calls. Can we please write in the chat ideas on the number? So how many violations there are of the safety protocol? 20, 120, 64, 50, 8. 120, too much, 8, not enough. 12. Yes, safety marks. 72, a lot. Oh my God, almost half of, 1/3 of the violations of the compliance matrix. Rahul, 19, 67, 10, 45. Okay, okay. I see some guesses. 19, 32. Okay. 57, too much. We have some that guessed. I won't tell you now who, but congratulations. Okay. I will tell you now how many violations of the safety protocol we have. And it's not working. Why not? Okay. 19. So yes, Daniela and Rahul, congratulations. I don't know if it was mere guessing or if you studied the compliance matrix and counted. I hope the second, because I would be really proud of you. Okay, there are 19 violations. You saw how many there are also in the other products that are even more. But these violations are super important. Why? Because of the sanctions, the level of severity that it's connected with these violations. So more than 50% of these 19 violations have a level of severity number 4 or 5. If you remember, the levels of severity are from 1 to 5. So 4 and 5 are the highest levels. And we can see here what are the sanctions if we find out that there are these violations. If your SCB chair or ICB finds out, you can lose membership at international level. No approved or open new opportunities are allowed until the issue is fixed. IMC is freezed, so you cannot do your operation. Possibility to have a mandate to be defined by the ICB chair. Host a physical virtual audit visit if required by ICB chair. And the entity needs to pay. Like, you need to pay. ICX opportunities that have any violation will be suspended. So you will see also for severity level 4, we have one official case application lost with ICB that it's not there, that it's more. So you see that the severities are really, really harsh. So make sure that you know what are the violations and make sure to comply. I mentioned you some. Have a health management plan, have a risk management plan, have established relations with a lawyer. All of these things, better if you do them by IPM 2020, like by now in reality, but after IPM 2020, sanctions. Good. So we finished the call. Congratulations to everyone that arrived till here. I really hope that the call was clear and that you enjoyed. It's heavy content. It's not super fun content, I agree, but it's really important to know all of these things. Now there is the questions and answers part. So I will go to check if you made any question. Is it this? Yes.
Nika, all the questions that are in yellow, they are for you. So there are questions that people did not submit in this call, they submitted it before. So just answer all the questions that are in yellow.
Okay. Great, Karina, thank you. Okay, sorry, but as I told you, this laptop, it's not mine, it's my dad's, and it's super slow. Okay, here we are. In yellow, you said. Here I see all green, red, yellow. Okay, we have Chamika. I hope it's right. Mika. CB chair, member TL, policy applicable. Okay, good. To review the contracts, is it necessary to have a separate lawyer for each LC, or it should be done with a lawyer who was contacted by MC? So I would tell you by MC, but it depends if your LCs have different contracts. So if you have in your entity different contracts from LC to LC, then yes, you should contact, the LC should contact a lawyer. But usually, at least from what I know, my dinosaur Isaac experience is that usually the contracts are the same for all, and like for the entity whole. So usually, yeah, the MC contacts the lawyer.
I want to do an observation. Yes. It also depends on how your entity is being organized legally in your country or territory. I will give you the example of my entity. Let me open my camera so I can interact with you. I will give you the example of my entity that is AEPP in Brazil. I know that AEPP in Brazil, each LC is independent from the MC. So every time that we are working in terms of contracts or any type of documents, we have our independence to reshape the documents based on our LCs, even in states realities. That requires each LC in Brazil to have a relationship with a lawyer. The lawyer of the LC can be the same lawyer as the MC, or no, doesn't matter. But this is just an example for you to understand how your entity is organized legally in your country or territory. So you can understand, okay, my LCs are independent from the MC, my LCs are not independent from the MC. But after understanding that, you will see each LC needs a lawyer or no, or it's only one lawyer per MC.
Okay, we have MCP or MC. Regarding the lawyer, is there any process they have to go through, like recognized in GA? Sorry, I don't know what GA means. Karina? In GA or something? Does AI or ICB needs to have any proof that there's a lawyer for a certain entity? So there is not a specific process they have to go through that I'm aware of. You just need to be in contact with a lawyer. So usually, I hope you will make a contract to this lawyer for their services. Please pay them. They studied a lot. But there is not like a specific process. There is not. Does AI or ICB needs any proof that there's a lawyer for a certain entity? Yes, because we audit. So your ICB chair will make sure that you have a lawyer in your entity. And when ICB will start their audits from the next year, from 2021, ICB will restart to have audit routines. So we'll start to audit the entities. Then we will check if you have a lawyer established in your entity. Yes.
I have a friendly suggestion. While talking to some entities around the world, some of them, they said that having a contract with a lawyer is quite expensive because they would have to pay for them like monthly or something like that. So our suggestion is that you have a sort of a contract or a letter or anything that you can sign with the lawyer, not based on monthly payments, and yes, on hours. So you don't know if you're going to need a lawyer besides reviewing all the contracts and everything, all the statements that you have in your entity, but maybe you will need a representative for legal processes and something. But these things probably won't happen every month for you. And if you're like a small entity that don't have that many exchanges per year, you can have a contract with a lawyer that says per hours. So maybe in 1 month, you don't even have to pay for your lawyer, but in another month, it's a month that you're going to do global assemblies or local legislation that you probably will need a lawyer. So that's a difference between monthly payment and hours something.
Thank you, Ka. Hey, can you please explain this part? ISAC will no longer be responsible for reimbursement if the OP and AP can't prove in global safety protocols. I don't remember have said this during the call, but I said a lot of stuff. Karina, do you remember this part?
I know. I would like this person to explain can't prove what, because the first thing that comes to my mind is that if they can't prove their expenses with receipts, but this part is not inside of the global protocol. This part is inside of other part of APIP. So if this question is related to ISAC will no longer be responsible for reimbursements if the OP and EP can't prove receipts, it's a new clause that we added saying that every time that you're going to do reimbursement for your EP, OP, or whatever, you need to prove the exact amount that you paid. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also the first thing that came to my mind. I have no other thing. In case if it was another thing, you can resubmit the question and put the whole part so we know what it is. Good. So this is case solving flow, global safety protocols. Oh, here we are. No. Global safety protocol. Is there already a template protocol that we can adapt? I think that you're talking about the safety guidelines. No, we don't have as ICB any, or AI, or also I think doesn't have any template protocol that you can adapt for now. We don't have.
I think that what we have that is most close to this question is all the resources that ISAC International provided during the peak of the crisis. So there is a spreadsheet that you can use as a model for do like risk assessments and health measures and this thing, but it's not like a template for the whole protocol. There are some tools that you can get in the ISAC Crisis Hub that was during the peak of the crisis by ASIC International. But I believe that PRMC already has it, and if you don't have it as ECB, go to the Crisis Hub and check the resources.
Yeah, it's true. There are a lot of things that are super useful. How to proceed if an AP refuses to buy health insurance despite the efforts of the sending entity? This is a fun question. Okay. I really don't know how to answer because I don't know how to force an EP to buy a health insurance. Of course, you have to put it as a mandatory thing. So it's in the standards of our exchanges that they need to have a health insurance. It's also in the APIP, so like, and AEPP. So they should know this before being approved, before signing the contract. So if they know this before they sign the contract, that they need to buy a health insurance, well, I really hope they won't say I won't, because it's before signing a contract. So you know that you need to do this thing. So they need to be aware that it's a requirement for us.
Yeah, I want to give a this part. What we have in our internal documents right now, we don't have any specific clause that says you can deny to proceed with an approval if the EP refuses to get the health insurance. There is no like direct clause saying that you can or you cannot do that. But we have a clause that says that the send entity must ensure that the EP has the health insurance before traveling, because this is part of the standard. My recommendation is that you write in your contract, in the contract of your entity, that it's responsibility of the EP to travel with the health insurance. And you can decide in your entity if you're going to accept EPs traveling with health insurance or not. But what will happen with you, if we find out that you are delivering an exchange without ensuring that the EP will travel without the health insurance, there are sanctions that can be applicable for you. If you want to know the sanctions, if we find out anything like ECB check or even ICB checks in auditing, open the compliance matrix and you do like a search for health insurance, and then you're going to see exactly what are the sanctions applicable if an EP don't travel with that. So in the end, it's up to the entity to accept it or not. My recommendation, don't accept and put it as mandatory in your contract.
We have another one here. The subject of discrimination of gender, sexual orientation, race and beliefs are not well included inside the harassment. There are only few situations described on the mobbing part, but they are not covered. And considering that one of our premises is to provide experience where there are no discrimination, is there any prediction for it to be reviewed? Well, yes.
Cool. While the creation process of the APIP and AEPP, the first document that we reshaped fully was the AEPP, and the protocol of harassment is also an annex in the AEPP. So this annex was reviewed by a lawyer hired by ISAC International, and the lawyer made some suggestions inside of the harassment part, and we actually changed some definitions. I am not sure if we changed the sexual orientation, but we did change the sexual harassment part. So I think that we already did the revision. If you have any other suggestion, what we can add or how we can reshape that, we can study it again and maybe propose new changes for the next conference that is going to be IPM 2021. But just to give you an answer, yes, we reviewed the policies. It was also reviewed not only by ICB, but for an external that it was a lawyer. And we understand that what we have in there is okay, but if you have any sort of changes, in every email that I send as ICB chair, you get the link of feedback and also for XPP suggestions, now APIP suggestions. So you can just submit it in there.
Good. So about the harassment prevention committee, who can be part of this team, such as MC, recent alumni, etc. You have the complete composition in the harassment protocol, and you have to have in the committee the MCP or a legal representative inside the MC. You have to have the ethics chair, the ethics chair, it's called, the ethics responsible of your entity. And then you need to have minimum one and maximum 2 externals that, yes, can be alumni. For example, I know that in AESEC in Italy, there is a super good alumni. She is graduated in law and she's super cool. It can be suggested to be people that usually deal with this kind of sensitive topics. So it can be a psychologist, it can be an advisor. You can choose who is the best external for you, but it needs to be an external, so not AESEC member right now. And I think this is it. For exchanges, there is the CB chair if there is an exchange involved. This is the suggestion for the composition. Okay, we have another one about GDPR. What are the best resources to understand GDPR? What to do if a stakeholder is refusing or curious to provide personal info because of GDPR? To who it should be reported if a violation happens? Sure, to GDPR issue. So resources to understand GDPR. Once I saw that there was something that AI downscaled about GDPR, a Q&A like about GDPR, and they were answering the most hot questions about GDPR. So there is this document, Google document. I don't have the link right now, but in case I can link it here. And also like Google, like if you write GDPR on Google, you will find the life, like everything. What to do if a stakeholder is refusing or curious to provide personal info because of GDPR? Well, I don't understand, like provide personal info to whom, like about what? I don't know, like to externals, like if it's about providing contact details because it's signing a OP contract, well, they need to do
the information that we ask as AESEC, if a person is willing to travel with us as an EP or even to host an experience as OP or with a global host, this type of information, they are not that violating GDPR. So what you could do, in my opinion, is to explain how AESEC is working with GDPR, because probably this person would be refusing it because he or she is insecure to give you any type of data. So you can explain how AESEC is going to work with the data, what are the policies of security that we have. And also there is something interesting, is that the GDPR is something that I believe the countries and territories are actually working and trying to understand what they should adapt to their national laws. And you can also try to explain that. So in the end, if someone is refusing to give you any sort of information, it's because they are worried in what can happen with that information. It's more like you to explaining that we are like a professional company and we have resources for that, and they can have access to the APIP and AEPP to understand what will happen with them. But it's not like a big deal, because information that we ask is not something like super confidential.
Yeah. I read that Morgs said it's a bit tricky in Europe to ask the EP for passport scans. Yeah, due to sensitive personal data. Well, I wanted also to underline that in the compliance matrix now, how we will audit the violations, we will like reduce at the lowest, the thing that we need from our customers. So it will be all about what ISAC does and the action that ISAC does while doing their operations. So the things that you will need to ask during the audit will not be things that you need to ask to the AP, like the most, but there will be things that the ISAC members do. And this is also to reduce this kind of us like going to ask things to our APs, because we understand that they are customers and they want to protect their personal data and everything. So we will try to reduce at the most, like almost to zero, the things that we ask to APs, because they shouldn't be involved in this, because this is how we are checking that ISAC is doing all the proper things and all the things that we need to do in order to be compliant to our policies and to deliver the best exchanges possible. So the things that we will ask will be related to things that ISAC members need to do the most. So we wanted to be sensitive also to this topic of APs, some APs don't wanting to share their personal data and the personal documents. Yeah. I think this is it. We don't have any more questions. And if you have still questions that arouse to you, that come to your mind later, you can still write them here, and I will check this this document. I won't check it every day for 1 year. I will check it like today and tomorrow morning. So write them if some questions come to you. Thank you very much for joining, and it was a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Ka, for the help and support.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye, everyone.